Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In today's episode, we are going to discuss Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and our illustrious mayor of Chicago, Illinois, Brandon Johnson. Mayor Brandon Johnson, he gave a press conference because they had to vote on a new I guess, union deal with Chicago police, and they didn't pass some of the stuff. I guess they pushed it back because city council thought that some police protection it didn't warrant. I guess because police brutality, they wanted more accountability towards the police. So we'll look at some of those videos today. And also, we know yesterday, Hunter Biden was crying. Hunter Biden was crying and refused to show up. He said to the Judiciary Committee for the impeachment, I guess, questioning, he wanted open hearing. You don't have the right to claim that, Hunter. Okay? They subpoenaed you to come in and you refused to show up, but instead you held a press conference. This is what we're talking about. A two-tier justice system. They decided that they was going to do a closed hearing. Don't know why, but that's what the Judiciary Committee decided. So whatever they decided on, you was supposed to show up and you did not. You decided to start crying about the things that you did in the past because everybody's been talking about you. You slept with your brother's ex-wife or widowed wife because your brother passed. And you claimed that, oh, we needed a connection. But you was married. So confusing to children. They mama sleeping with their uncle. And then you have this illicit love affair with drugs and women and made a baby from that. And you expect people to not talk about you. On top of that, you got a gun charge. Then on top of that, you haven't paid taxes in the last 9 to 10 years. You either lied on your taxes or you didn't pay taxes. And you cried in the media saying, "Oh, they talking about me, and they saying that I'm doing illegal things in Ukraine, and I'm blah, blah, blah." Stop it with the madness. And you and your daddy need to stop it. So people are trying to hold you accountable, and I'm getting tired of hearing Democrats saying, "Oh, there's crime and corruption everywhere." They're not in the hot seat. You're in the hot seat. Your crime has been uncovered, so you're in the hot seat. It's your turn to be in the hot seat. And if that other person if it's a Republican or a Democrat alike, if they crimes become unveiled, they'll be in the hot seat too. But you're in the hot seat right now, so you have to answer. There's not a well, we could say there is a two-tier justice system. We already know that. Because if Hunter Biden was any normal person, just like you and I, we will be under the jail for not paying taxes in that amount. You'll be under the jail. They'll hold you accountable. Matter of fact, we've been talking about Tiffany Henyard a lot. Tiffany Henyard, she's going to be under the jail. She'll be under a jail. I just read, somebody sent me another story about a Chicago mayor, and they pressing charges on his cousin. They rounding everybody up that had to deal with, whatever his crime was. They'll be held accountable. But you, Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family feels like they're above reproach, and they're not. So that's what we're going to talk about. I hate to start preaching before I start preaching. You guys put in the chat. Let me know where you're viewing from. Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. Like I said before, if you enjoyed that music, you could go to www.scoresomemusic.com. That website is scoresomemusic.com. And Mac Torrance, he could compose and write music specifically for your needs. www.scoresomemusic.com. Steven 1976, thank you for tuning in. We got Kennard, the DJ from Chicago. What up? Well, y'all don't say what up though. What y'all say in Chicago? I'm from Chicago, believe it or not, but I haven't been there in years. So Chicago, from the south side of Chicago, that's where I'm from. C. Coleman, Chicago. We got Queenie Smith from Cleveland, Ohio, and Stephen, 1976, Eastern North Carolina, at work this evening. Well, happy work to you. Thank you for tuning in. You're from the north side. Okay, so that's where my aunt, she stays on the north side as well. We're going to get to Chicago. Now, Brandon Johnson, there's a couple of things that's floating around with Brandon Johnson because today, yesterday was the debate in city council whether or not they should pass this new, I guess this is unionized deal. But some of the people didn't agree with the arbitration. Now, arbitration is basically like if a cop accidentally injure someone or use excessive force. So it's basically like an insurance that, hey, they will pay for arbitration for that police officer. And I guess the language in that particular part, the city council did not agree with the particular language, and they're saying that it allows for them to cover them too much. Don't know why. I mean, I could see what the argument will be. But we've viewed the numbers as well. We viewed the numbers, how many people died by the hand of police officers, whether it's justified or not. But we've viewed that before. And last year, there were about maybe close to 1,000 people died from the hand of police officers, and about 400, close to 400 of those people were African American. So city council, they thought that, oh, we need to, protect our people because we're dying in the streets. There were some city councilmen and councilwomen that support police officers and support that particular protection. And some of them spoke up about it. But most of them carried the same sentiment. They carried that what happens when you have these bad actors out there and they're covered by this arbitration. So I guess they wanted to get rid of it. To me, it's totally unfair because we're not in the police officer's shoes. I think if you're in the union, of course, if I did something in the union and I pay my union dues or whatever, you should have some type of protection. Now, it should be like a clause in there. If they find out this was an egregious act or something like that, Okay, we'll get rid of that. You have no longer the protection. You have to fund your own lawyer, I guess. But then would you have police officers signing up for this bullshit? Because they don't get paid a lot. They don't get paid a lot. And you have most police officers, they're out there to serve and protect. And then you have some bad actors that is power hungry. And this is men and women. They're power hungry. You guys already know, I don't know, we talked about police officers not too long ago. I don't believe women should be police officers. I really don't. Because we struggle with apprehending people. And I'm laughing about it. But we saw some videos where women struggle to apprehend people. And it's not to say that women are not strong. I'm just saying you're not stronger than a man. When it comes down to taking down a man, you're not able to do that. So let me just share with you. I just want to point out some of the things that they said during the city council meeting. And then we're going to go to Brandon Johnson and what he said. Because Brandon Johnson, like I said, he loves protecting violent criminals. I think he that's what, because he sympathized with them. I guess because he's from the hood, and he mentioned in this little spiel, oh, I grew up with 8 foster families and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, so you're sympathizing with violent people that's doing harm. We don't want to call them mobs. We don't want to demonize the children. But these are the same children that's running amok and literally killing you. They don't have any what is it called? They don't value human life. They don't value theirs, and they don't value yours. And if they don't value theirs, why would they value yours? But he's a sympathizer. So, and this is the council meeting. Where is it at? History.
The chief executive has got to be bold within reason and daring in application.
We want those conversations to be made public. And here's why. It's not to villainize anyone. Officers have to make very difficult and nuanced calls in situations none of us would ever want to be in or even watch in a simulation. They have to make tough calls every single day. These are matters that involve nuance and involve understanding. So even to the benefit of FOP and the CPD, we should hear it publicly, because there are times where officers are making the right call that we need to know the details to have a better understanding on the other side of the equation. Not having a public, transparent process limits that, so we don't have an understanding about the tough calls they have to make every single day in and out. I think lastly, I'll say to President Catanzara's credit, last night emailed members of the council to say, when we were talking about negotiations, we offered a different arbitration process or offered to be open to this. The administration said no. I understand why they would say no, because the stance is we want a police board, which would be gutted to non-existence if we move this way. So we're not having that. So I responded to President Catanzara, if you're saying this, and we all know this might cost everything to go to court, would you then be open to renegotiating and figuring out what that looks like? He said, you know what, that's already been settled. Let's figure out the vote. That is why we are put in a difficult decision now. Looking at the arbitration, to other people's point, we take on a bunch of these cases when it comes to these settlements or when it comes to misconduct, where our members go, take that case on. It's going to cost us, so what? Let's take it on. We pay so much in misconduct, $100 million every year average on misconduct. So yes, I believe we need to take it on. I will be voting to also reject the arbitration, not because I'm trying to look and love or hate the police, but because it's the right matter to have transparency and accountability, to understand the decisions, how difficult they are, and to actually build the kind of trust we need to have a functioning public safety system. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
So basically, they want to gut the arbitration and basically that if there is misconduct, I guess arbitration leaves it in a concealed manner. I don't know, but they don't want them to have the ability to have a lawyer. Um, their biggest gripe in Chicago is, like he said, they pay $100 million a year on misconduct because people sue the city because of their misconduct. Well, maybe you need to retrain the police. How about that? Retrain the police. Maybe that some of the people get those bad actors out. Stop hiring them. Retrain the police, uh, boost morale, and maybe you won't have this type of thing going on. Do a psychological exam. Some of these jobs they should do a psychological exam before they let them in the police force. Just like that young guy that got beat up gang style in Memphis. What's his name? I guess, and coming to find out, he was sleeping with one of the cops' wife or ex-wife or whatever, and they beat him up. Things like that. Okay, you slept with the man's wife, but you use your badge to initiate a gang style beating on this guy because he slept with your wife. To me, that's just totally ludicrous. And then who's going to pay for that? The city of Memphis. It's going to come out the city of Memphis budget. It comes out Chicago's budget. And where do they get their budget from? The taxpayers. I mean, so how about not take away the arbitration? I think arbitration is needed because some of these guys, they act in an instant and it's a life and death situation. But how about we just hire the right people and do a psychiatric exam before you just say, oh, you could get a badge because they need some bodies on the force. This one lady, before I go to this guy right here, he had a point, and then I'm going to get to Janet Taylor, I believe. We talked about her today because I think that at the beginning of this week, because she is very critical of Brandon Johnson, and she was one of his strong supporters.
Hi, I'm Gofari. I'm a solo traveler experiencing countries
After this
within
commercial.
Africa has been my
But when we look at a contract that was negotiated, that was agreed upon through an arbitrator, sent to us for ratification, nobody that's voting on this issue was in the room during negotiations. We don't negotiate contracts. We don't negotiate law settlements, but we ratify them when they are brought before us. Now, trust me, I understand people's frustration not liking this arbitration piece. But when our own lawyers sat in that box and told us it will be an uphill battle, basically slim to none, that we will get this reversed. That's what he said, an uphill battle. So what's going to happen if this is rejected? It's going to be sent back to the arbitrator. The arbitrator is going to tell us, I said what I said, and it's going to come back to us. If we vote against it, then it's going to go to court and possibly cost us more and more and more and more. Now, the same people that are talking about, we're concerned about spending money. Well, this is another example that we're about to spend more money if we don't ratify this contract. Now, let me just say, nobody supports bad officers. Nobody supports bad officers. However, sometimes officers make mistakes, just like everybody else. And what we have to do is we have to understand, put yourself in the police's shoes. When they're out there fighting to save lives, to make our community safe, sometimes they make split-second decisions that can cost them or other people their lives. Nobody in this position, in this body, is willing to put themselves in those shoes. but they do it day in and they do it day out. When there's a problem, you all call the police, don't you? Look around this body and look at all the police that are around. When something happens, we call the police. We're asking the police to clear the gallery. We're asking the police to make us feel safe here in this body. We're asking the police to patrol our communities. But yet, time and time again, y'all, we don't give the police the respect, the dignity, and the respect that they do every single day in our community. And again, let me just say, I'm not talking about the bad officers, but I'm talking about the 99.9% that are out there trying to make our communities a better place. Those are the ones that we have to support. Those are the ones that we have to let them know that, you know what, we do have your back. Those are the ones that we have to support, you all. Because day in and day out, they're on the streets. They're doing the job that nobody else wants to do. They're called to do these jobs. Just like us, we're called to be legislators. But I just believe the police get a bad rap all the time for the job that they do. We have to support them, y'all. And when our own lawyers are telling us that we don't feel good about this, winning this, you know, sometimes we have to make tough decisions, and we have to make decisions, which we all do all the time. We make decisions that we don't like. Well, think about it that way.
He's absolutely right. But the problem is you are in progressive Chicago. Progressive Chicago wants to defund the police. They feel like they got too many police anyway. You're going to hear Jeanette Taylor, how she talks about the police. Like, oh, I'm scared of the police. I don't know if they're going to kill me or if they're going to help me. I might as well just go in the hood and ask them to help me. Well, I believe in your own policing. If you got some strong brothers in your hood and they know, hey, this is our street code and you ain't gonna do nothing to no women out here, blah, blah, blah. But I don't even think that exists. I mean, you guys put it in the chat, let me know if it exists anymore in a neighborhood, in the neighborhood, in the city neighborhood, where you get predominantly Black neighborhoods, or even men, when you have men in your neighborhood, upstanding men, and no shit go down. They used to have neighborhoods like that. But now, do they really have it? You know, most people try to mind their own business because they afraid that something might go down. But yeah, they want to defund the police. So everything he's talking about sounds logical. It sounds real logical. 99% of the people or police officers that's on the street are good police officers. Then you get those one or two or three bad apples, you know? And they constantly, instead of gutting them out and sending them on their merry way and not allowing them to be hired again at another police town, they don't do that. So you have this, and they want to defund the police and take all the arbitration away so people won't be police. That's basically what they're doing. People won't be the police. People won't sign up for the job. They won't have any protection. So why in the world you want me to put my life on the line to try to help the community out, and it's dangerous, but I can't even react to nothing, you know, because I'm putting my life on the line, but I'll be scared to, hey, draw my gun or tase somebody, and they have a gun, but you can't. You gotta reevaluate the situation, so they end up putting their life on the line and end up dying off of a criminal that's gonna do harm anyway. But like I said, he makes totally sense. But we're talking about progressiveness in Chicago.
Think about it as this is just one of those that I may not like, but it's the right thing to do. So I just want to say, which I hope nobody is ever in this position, that you need to call the police. And you say, you know what? Call an arbitrator. Call an arbitrator before they come to your aid and assist that we need all the time. So again, we don't have the right to reject this. It's an uphill battle. You all so just do the right thing and let's ratify this piece that should have never been broke out, and it should have been voted in the last ordinance that we voted on overwhelmingly in this body, and we should do the same thing with arbitration. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
So that was his piece. Then we got this guy up here.
Ad Creative AI has a Christmas deal that'll get you 50% off any yearly package, and that will allow you to generate.
And we are
This guy, I think he's Latino or maybe Muslim or whatever. But whatever nationality, he sounds Latino. He doesn't believe in the arbitration piece. So most of them don't, and that's why they shut it down. But I did want to show you this lady, Jeanette Taylor.
A boy trusted you all. Miracle Boy trusted you all, and their trust was betrayed. Our coworkers are quick to say there are 9 bodies of accountability, but we're about to pay $11 million in lawsuits for bad behavior. Where is the trust and the protection for us? Now, I name these Black women intentionally because I'm a Black woman, and I want to be able to pick up the call in 911 and not be worried if you're going to shoot me because I'm Black. Ask it to Patrick Jenkins, whose family we're about to pay $8 million to, that won't bring him back. We have all these levels of accountability, but every month you ask us to pay families money because of mistakes. And sometimes I don't think they're mistakes. I think they're intentional. While I agree that the police don't get their just due and should be at the table when decisions about their jobs should be made, we're not going behind closed doors. We're still paying lawsuits for John Burge victims. Why? Why? Why does it, when you look at what the police looks like now, there are not a lot of Black police. Nobody wants to be the police. They don't. We are at a time where we got to hold each other accountable. And going behind closed doors to decide fate ain't holding people accountable. The gentleman who hit Miracle Boyd in her mouth, guess what? He retired, but he gonna get his pension. I asked this body a long time ago, should they have their own insurance? I was laughed at. I was ridiculed for asking the question because we continue to pay for bad behavior because that's what this is. And trust, I want to trust if I call 911, you're going to come and do what I need you to do and not shoot and kill me. We were just in finance and I was more confused than anybody sitting in here on why Mr. Jenkins called the police to say he was being stabbed and within 2 minutes he was killed. Where is the accountability for his kids? Where's the counter? And we can throw around money all day long. Y'all love talking about we gonna spend more money on arbitration. We spend $167,000 a month on rent for certain spaces. Come on, stop it. I am tired of y'all acting like the sky's falling when it ain't. It's when it's convenient for you all. At the end of the day, it is our responsibility to build trust among everybody. And don't get me wrong. I don't know who I'm calling when something happens. And by calling the boys on the block or the police, I don't know who I got a better chance with. And that's on y'all. That's on how we've been treated. We love talking about money. We throw away more money than any city council I've ever seen in the country on BS. So stop it. I am not voting to have nothing behind no closed doors. This is not what the community asked us to do. And this wasn't just about Black and brown people. You had white people talking about police brutality. So let's make it real around here. We're gonna talk about it. Y'all irritating. Y'all really are. Because at the end of the day, y'all want to talk about workers' rights. We just passed like 15. Stop it. We just made sure the tip workers got their fair share. Stop it. Just stop it. Enough is enough. Y'all wonder why the people come here on the city council and act a fool? Because we acting a fool. I tell people every time when I come here, I'm going to the Universal Soul Soakers because this is clownness. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know how I feel about that. Jeanette Taylor, she mad in the mud. Yes, inspire. Inspire yourself, Danielle. This is an actual city council member talking. This is an alderman. So literally, so she feels like, the police shouldn't have this arbitration behind closed doors because she feels like, oh, you're protecting the police too much to do bad things, I feel totally different. Just because I have a gun, that don't mean I'm going to use it. Just because and usually if you're a gun owner, you should have some type of insurance just in case you have to use it, because they could still come back and sue you. Okay. So that's, hey, I'm a police officer. Why wouldn't you cover me for any type of disputes? Why wouldn't that be? You want me to serve and protect you, but you, on the same hand, you don't want to cover me in, you know, a innocent mistake. I seen a girl that got beat up in Walmart. She tried to, cock back, you know, punch the police officer, and before she got her punch off, he knocked her out. That's gonna be something in arbitration. Because if a person that's injured in the hands of a police officer, they say it's excessive force. So what are they supposed to do? Just let people hit them? That one, I think this happened in Ohio. This girl was wielding a knife, and she went back and was about to stab the girl, and the police was there, and he shot her. Everybody was like, all the people that don't like the police was like, oh, he shouldn't have shot her. Well, he was supposed to let him stab the other. He's there. He's supposed to throw his body in front of the knife, or just let the stabbing happen. You see what I'm saying? So these are instances that's a split second that you got to make a decision. And we can't say, oh, he should have did this, but you never been in a police officer's shoes. Now, with me, if you guys haven't been following me, I had a brother that was killed by the police. And back in 2019. Let me share the story with you. He was killed by an off-duty police officer. And he actually went to my brother. Well, he was living with my mom at the time, but he actually went upstairs to the house. They got in an argument in the parking lot. My brother went upstairs. And he was still heated. And my mom, somebody knocked on the door, which was the police officer. He didn't even know. Nobody knew he was a police officer. He knocked on the door. My brother opened up the door and he shot him 4 times. An off-duty Melrose Park police officer was in custody after a fatal shooting Tuesday in West Suburban Maywood. 2 men were shot 7:30 p.m. My older brother, well, he's not older than me, but the older one, and then the younger one. On 400 block of West Lake Street, according to the statement, Maywood Police, the off-duty police officer involved in shooting, according to the spokesman for the village, the officer has been placed on paid administrative leave while the investigation is ongoing. You know why there was while they were investigating, they did not release that man's name. I mean, right now they're my brother's baby mama and my mom is suing them. But like I said, I've been on a different side of the police. And I still feel like they should. How can you say, and this guy is a bad actor? This guy that killed my brother, he's a total bad actor. And he's had complaints before he shot my brother. There was another complaint where he used excessive force on a female. I guess he knocked her out in the club somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, they're able to weed out bad actors, but the 99% of the other police officers that's risking their lives on a daily basis, they deserve some type of protection because we don't know what it is to be in their shoes. Now, will this guy ever be charged with he was Latino, by the way. Will this guy ever be charged for my brother's crime? Probably not. But he probably will go scot-free. The FBI has the case now, but this has been since 2019. Nothing's come of it. We had to pull teeth for them to release his name. So, like I said, I'm on the other end of this. Now you got this fool, Brandon Johnson. And I should feel like, oh no, they don't need no arbitration. I should totally feel that way. But I don't, because I think it's wrong. I think 99% of the police officers do their duty well. And then you got some jackasses out there that just power hungry or think they hide behind their badge so they could do whatever. And Brandon Johnson, let me just share this tab with you. I'm going to get to some of your comments. Oh, and another thing about my brother, his name is Arthur Walton Jr. Okay, you could look it up; it'll come up. They had this small little insert about this incident. You see how small the news article was. It was on the news, but you see how small the article is. What was I doing? Oh, I wanted to share with the press conference of Brandon Johnson. Now, Brandon Johnson, like I said, he wants to defund the police. He don't believe. He said he act like he was being neutral. Watch later.
Grateful that I'm joined by my.
But he carries the same sentiment as most of the majority of the people in his council. They want to defund the police. They believe that they shouldn't have any police because police is running rampant and killing people. That's what they believe, because they paid $100 million out in police brutality or police incidents. And it probably was some incidents where it was just, but just because the people were injured or whatever, they had to pay some type of compensation. Back in the day, you got my husband, he'll tell you he got beat up by a police officer. They wired his jaw shut. He didn't get no compensation for it. This is a long time ago. He didn't get no compensation for it. None whatsoever. Only compensation he was able to get is staying out of jail. So, is it right? No, it's not right. You know, they could have paid for some of his medical expenses, but what do you do?
Deputy Mayor of Labor, Bridget Early, thank you for your leadership. Halo Gutierrez, Lamont Robinson, Mike Rodriguez, department, and the people of the city of Chicago. And again, I'm grateful to the Vice Chair of Police and Fire Committee, Lamont Robinson, for your not just this mission, but all of our work. And I've done just that.
So to clarify, where is the accountability? Because we've heard over and over again that you've inherited that.
This, I just wanted to get to the questions.
sure that our team gets back with you. Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor Johnson, Alderman Lopez had shared with some of us what appears to be a draft order to set aside or repeal Lori Lightfoot's emergency order of August 2022. And that leads us to wonder, how is it that City Council, which is supposed to have oversight over you, cannot get any answer from spring to summer to fall, going on winter, on where the money is going for all this migrant stuff? It seems that the people I'm talking to, out south at least, are saying that puts you on par with Tiffany Haynard out in Thornton Township in the village of Thornton as far as accountability on the spending.
You hear what he said. I don't know who this reporter is, but he asked, hey, why can't we get some answers on accountability of the spending? And you're on par with Tiffany Haynard out in Dalton Township. So everybody know Tiffany Haynard is off the chain. We don't even know who that guy is. But he didn't address the Tiffany Haynard part, but he did address, I guess, the spending.
What are you guys going to do to restore faith and confidence in the voters, at least out that way, that you all are doing the right thing with the money?
Yeah, thank you for that question. There was no budget for this migrant crisis that was voted on and passed by the previous city council. So not only did I inherit an international crisis, there was no budget, there was very little infrastructure. And within almost 7 months now that I've been in office, we've literally had to create a budget, establish some structure and order, advocate at the federal level around international policies, while also making sure that we're building an operation that centers people's humanity. Now, I can't speak for the previous city council. What I can say, though, is that this budget provides a real structure and frame around what our capabilities are. And again, my job is to level set, address what I inherited, and build off the progress that we have established thus far. Look, this international crisis clearly is not going anywhere anytime soon. The people of Chicago voted for me to provide structure, to create some discipline, and some accountability to not just this mission, but all of our work. And I've done just that.
So to clarify, where is the accountability? Because we've heard over and over again that you inherited that. That is a fact. Mayors from time on end have inherited from a mess from other mayors. So how are you going to reconcile figures, again, where people have confidence? It's easy to say, well, we've got a budget that's going to get things in line. But where is the budget that makes us secure that our money is going in the right place and just not every which way but loose?
Well, look, that's why you have an entire body of government. The city council, who voted on this budget, a budget that's balanced, that invested $250 million into homelessness, a budget that invested $100 million into violence prevention, a budget that increased its youth employment dollars up to $80 million.
One thing about Brandon Johnson, he's saying that he was inherited this migrant crisis, but you done a terrible job. You was inheriting this migrant crisis. You knew you had to balance the budget. You knew all these things, but you haven't did anything. They're gonna start talking about the shelter that they stopped building because it was contaminated. They spent close to $1 million, testing the soil. But you signed a lease for $90,000 a month for this contaminated soil. Why wouldn't you do that ahead of time? Or put it in your lease. Hey, we're planning to build such and such on this. You need to get soil testing before we sign a lease contract. Or if we find out that this is contaminated, blah, 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 if it doesn't pass a phase 1 environmental inspection, because that's what it is. If it doesn't pass a phase 1 environmental inspection and we have to remove the contaminant, we're going to have to reverse charge you. It's going to go towards our lease, or where this lease is breakable. Why you didn't do that? I don't know. What type of people do you have working for you? You don't have no project planners for you under you? I mean, why wouldn't people tell him that? And I'm not expecting him to know that. But come on now. Project planning, project management. You're trying to erect a tent. Hey, you need to call. You got all these people's asylum seeker cities. They built the tent. What was the steps that they built? Why wouldn't you get them on the phone? Hey, what's the next step? How'd you get your tent built so fast? Because in New York, they built that tent like real fast. But still, Brandon Johnson, he's still fumbling the ball. And we're going to find out that they're probably misappropriating funds. Because you got all this money and you ain't did shit.
Work that we continue to do to make sure that we are addressing not just systemic issues that have existed for generations in this city, but also to make sure we're responding to this international crisis. Thank you.
Hi, Monica Ng with WBZ. We used to have regular new arrivals meetings where we'd find out the latest on new vendors. I think we were told at the last one that we would find out who the new vendors are in the first week of December, but we haven't heard about those yet. And we haven't heard about new numbers about how many Chicagoans are actually being employed at these shelters. I think the last we heard it was 18% Chicagoans. So we'd love to get an update on how that's changing. The latest figures I saw from Favorite were that we're still paying Favorite up to $2,100 a day per employee to this multinational corporation owned by a Canadian billionaire.
So could you restate your question again? I heard the editorial at the very end. What's your question?
When can we have updates on vendors, like more local vendors?
Oh, yeah, I got you. So there are some RFPs that are still being finalized. And as I said from the very beginning, again, I can't speak for what was done prior to when I arrived, but I've been very upfront about challenging our department to renegotiate these contracts, but also make sure that we are prioritizing Chicagoans. I'm still very much committed to that, and we'll get you an update soon, okay? I thank you.
Joe Barrett with the Wall Street Journal. Just back to the migrant issue. We're hearing that the numbers crossing the border right now are back to like 10,000 a day, back to record levels. Without the tent city, are we going to be able to have the flexibility to deal with a new influx?
Look, as I've said, often, that this international crisis that has really gripped the entire world's economy. I had a chance to speak with Mayor Eric Adams last week. 70% of migrants in New York are coming from the continent of Africa. Here in Chicago, of course, those numbers are different. And, we often talk about the city of Chicago being a world-class city. And in order to be a world-class city, you have to have a global perspective. That's what I brought to this office. That's why I've been pushing hard on the federal government to alleviate and remove the sanctions that have been placed on many of these sovereign states. Some of the failures that have happened over the course of generations, particularly Congress, that has not passed a comprehensive immigration policy. And so now all of that pressure that failed policies of old that have been placed over these particular sovereign nations, you're seeing now the spill as a result of those failures. Now,
Your sanctions doesn't have to do with us. I mean, it does. We place the sanctions on them. And then, you have AOCs. This is what talking points AOC use. Okay, so you sanctioned Venezuelans and or the Venezuelan government. So you're starving them out per se. No, the communist government of Venezuela, they have plenty of money. They're starving their own people out. So they don't have any jobs. Well, they do have jobs. They have stuff over there that they could do, but it's their federal government. So why should we be penalized because their government is not doing what they're supposed to be doing? Why? Because we imposed the sanction on them with their oil use or whatever the sanction was. We're getting penalized, so you're gonna ship. We're gonna say, oh, we feel sorry for the people of Venezuela, so we're gonna let them come over here to do what? Somebody throw me a lifeline. We're gonna let them come over here because we impose sanction on their crazy government, and to do what? So you have communism people over here, communist people that comes over here that say they want to flee the government per se, but you're not making no requirements. You just letting them over it. I really am trying to understand that. And then I do give him credit. They haven't passed a comprehensive bill, but they did have Title 42, which is not a comprehensive bill. This is just an executive order that Trump put in place and expired. You knew it was going to expire. Biden should have either extended or place another executive order. But you love the author of chaos. Why would he do that? Because he want to author a chaos. Keep everybody busy looking at the border so they could do whatever. They're doing something, whatever, so we won't pay attention to that. That's the author of chaos. And then we can invite all these people over, give them all these subsidies and just say, oh, remember what we let you over here. Now here's your voter registration card. Remember, vote Joe Biden. Remember Joe Biden let you over here? 10 million people have came over here since Title 42 expired. 10 million. That's ridiculous. And we're saying the same old thing. Congress haven't passed a comprehensive bill. Congress needs to act. Republicans, they're not, they're not willing. They're being unjust and unfair and inhumane. No, how about we just close the border down? That's not being unjust. That's just looking out for American people. But he has a bleeding heart and he's saying Chicago is world class.
As I continue to do, we have stood up shelters. I think we're up to 26, almost 30 shelters. We continue to look across not just the city of Chicago, but my team has looked across the entire state of Illinois. I don't know if there's any other administration that is working as hard as the people in this administration. I mean, literally searching for property all over the state of Illinois. Because this is a crisis, as I've said, it's not going to go away because people are upset. Now, unfortunately, you have individuals that have used this as a way to execute its meanness. And it's caused the type of strife.
All right, thanks, everybody.
That type of meanness has caused the type of strife that we are experiencing now. Now, clearly, as difficult as this moment has been, our coalition is still remaining strong. And, people have so much to say about the city of Chicago, especially those who don't live here. They should stop talking. Because it is this city that has come up with some structure and order of how buses arrive. It's this city that continues to hold to its values. It's this city that continues to invest in neighborhoods that have been historically disinvested in. The fact that we have a real commitment for restoration and reparations, a real commitment to make sure that we are investing in those who have been formerly incarcerated. Like, our work hasn't stopped because of this crisis. And so our team remains committed to having the type of nimbleness that I believe that you are alluding to and the flexibility to be able to respond to this crisis. And as I've also said, the federal government, the state government, the county government, city, we all have to do more.
He's saying that he's doing all these things and investing in his community and even in light of the crisis of this immigration crisis, you're giving all these social programs or whatever. You're even looking into reparations. How come all these citizens of Chicago is mad as hell at you, Brandon? Why? Remember this lady? Let me just pull her up. Remember this lady? She was mad as hell at Brandon Johnson because Brandon Johnson tried to blame all the what he said right-wing extremists on the immigration, and he's blaming meanness. He didn't call right-wing extremists anymore, but he's saying the meanness of political people having, immigrants coming over is just a mean tactic. Like, but you're saying all this, but your girl, the girl that was in City Hall, she was mad as hell at Brandon Johnson. This lady.
Say that the sentiment in the black community is waning. a lie. The sentiment is not waning. We are not okay with you taking our resources and giving them to people who don't live here. As Mark stated before, you are preparing housing for them. One of the reasons that the city of Chicago was able to close 50 schools was because of the Black Flight. And the reason we had a Black Flight was because there is no affordable housing in this city. It is because the city of Chicago shut down the voucher system so that blacks who needed to get affordable housing could not. So they had no choice but to flee to other states. But now you found money for the migrants.
That's right.
We're calling foul. And then another thing you said was that the faith-based leaders were helping to bring around the sentiment. We haven't paid attention to faith-based leaders since Dr. Martin Luther King. And guess what? We're not listening to them now. We understand that they are bought and paid for. We understand that you control the narrative that they are trying to speak about. So let me just say this to you. We're not listening to them the same way we're not listening to you. What you're doing is not okay. And let me just say this other thing. Emerson Park is still closed. And our mayor has decided that because we didn't support migrants coming to our park, we just ain't gonna have a park. I call foul, Mayor. You love to stand around and talk about how you're a black man. That's all you are, is a black man. And we know that all black folks ain't skin folks. And those of us who didn't know that, you're giving us a great lesson. So we thank you for that. No, the sentiment has not changed. We are still for black people. We are still for this city supporting us. We're still for black people getting the same set-asides that these migrants are getting. Oh, excuse me, not migrants, because what they are is illegal foreign nationals. They are not migrants. They are not coming here legally. So just because you put lipstick on a pig, it's still going to be a pig. So we are not backing down. We were quiet for a minute. I know you thought that the sentiment has changed. It has not. And like I tried to remind people, not only did I support Brandon Johnson, not only did I campaign for Brandon Johnson, not only did I give him my money, but I want you to know two things. Number one, I'm not a fan. I have buyer's remorse. Number two, for any independent candidate in the city of Chicago, any Green Party candidate in the city of Chicago, and any Republican candidate in the city of Chicago, now is your time, because we are done with the Democratic Party. Brandon Johnson, Governor Pritzker, and President Biden have shown us what they think about the black community all over this country. And so we're standing here today to say, okay, if that's what it is, we with it. We don't have to support the Democratic Party. We don't have to continue to support people who are not going to support us. And the Democratic Party here in this city, in this state, and in this country is not supporting us. You got the Republicans on one side and the Democrats on the other side. Guess what? They're part of the same bird.
That's right, with two wings.
So
the guy in the background just cracks me up. So this is what Brandon Johnson people think about him, but he feels like he's doing such a great job. He feels that way, just like your girl on the deep south side, Tiffany Henyer. She feels like she's doing a great job. She gives herself a hand clap. Don't you think I'm doing a great job? Yeah, I think I'm doing a great job. This is the same crap that Brandon Johnson thinks he's doing a great job. And he's trying to spread that message because he doesn't have anybody to combat him. You got the news people, but do they really live in the city of Chicago? These are the people that lives in Chicago, and they're the ones that's suffering. Like, he's using his political tactics. Oh, you're not going to support me. You're not going to support migrant shelters in your park, so you won't have a park. But you're saying that you're giving to the divested community. This is the divested community that you're talking about. And since they don't agree with you, you're going to starve them out. Who does that sound like? The lady that we've been talking about for the last 5 months, Tiffany Henyard. That sounds just like her. He going to starve them out. Just one more question I want to get to, and I think it comes up right here. This is one of the reporters is asking about the tent that they were building. And she asked, okay, was this tent a mistake? Instead of him saying, yeah, we picked the wrong site. Yeah, that was a mistake. Thinking, in hindsight, we should have approached this a little differently. He didn't say that.
We build, that we are centering not just environmental justice, but the entire humanity of the people of Chicago.
But why not get on the same page with the state on what the right environmental standards are to use before, dropping the report and saying it's safe for use?
So,
And there are a bunch of others in
the the body rejected the portion of the contract that doesn't adhere to the spirit of real accountability. And so, I made it very clear that I did not support the arbiter's decision there. And this body, made a very resounding statement today that these egregious acts or accusations of these acts have to be spoken of and seen in the public view.
But one could argue that's one measure of accountability, and there are a bunch of others in the economic portion of the contract that either stay in place or go backwards. How do you respond to that criticism?
Again, that there is a portion of this contract that 42 people, 43, was it 42 people voted? 42 people voted in favor of it, and 7 voted against it. Again, democracy prevailed. The vote was cast. It was made of a portion of the contract that obviously this body supported. The portion of the contract that they did not support, they rejected it.
Hi, Mayor. Happy holidays.
Thank you very much.
Regarding the base camp at 38th and Cal, how can residents of Brighton Park and beyond trust the city on future issues of environmental justice when you have the state EPA out here saying there are serious concerns of how the city vetted land that was to house asylum seekers?
Well, we vetted land throughout the entire city of Chicago. And, we put forth a remediation based upon this temporary emergency housing that would have been established in that particular space. And, based upon the standards that our guidelines were accountable to, we provided that. Now, if there were other forms of remediation or expanded remediation that was needed or required, that, could have been a request. That request wasn't given, but I'm very much committed to environmental justice. That's why I've stood up the Department of the Environment in my recent budget, and I'm very much committed to making sure that anything and everything and anywhere we build, that we are centering not just environmental justice, but the entire humanity of the people of Chicago.
But why not get on the same page with the state on what the right environmental standards are to use before, dropping the report and saying it's safe for use?
So we were tasked with assessing not just this property, but all property. And based upon the standard that our team was working off of, we made.
You notice how he said we were tasked for the standard of not just this property, but all property. What do you mean all property? You're talking about all property that you and your friends picked out? And I won't say friends, you and your employees picked out. You didn't just randomly say, oh, we're just going to search all properties. No, you picked out several sites and that's what it was. So why are you trying to be so ambiguous about the situation? You picked out certain properties and it's a finite number. You're using all like it was an infinite number. No, it was finite. And you pulled the trigger before you even known anything about, the condition of the soil. So just own up to your mistake.
Made remediation that was suited for this temporary site. Now, as far as moving forward, those conversations are going to be strengthened, and I'm very much committed to making sure that there is a clear understanding for everyone as we move forward to address this mission. And keep in mind, the mission is to make sure that these individuals who are seeking asylum have an operation that centers their dignity.
Hey, Mayor, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good to hear that. A lot of people are asking us to ask this question.
How many people?
A few people in my DMs.
Oh, okay, just a few people.
Was the tent base camp plan a mistake?
There were 4,000 people that were living in police districts and the airport. 4,000, sleeping outside on the floor. Now, could I ask a different question? Is it a mistake to not address the crises, to not plan for it? One would say resoundingly that yes, it would be a mistake not to plan for it. I'm planning for it.
No, you're reacting to it, Brandon. Planning for it. You keep on saying plan. You're not planning anything. You're reacting. I mean, come on, you guys. Plan for is like, okay, we know Christmas is coming up. We got so many kids. We got so many family members coming over. How much food we gonna buy? Oh, we're planning that we're gonna have 20 people over here. You write down the grocery list and you say, oh, I don't think one turkey gonna do. We might want to do 2 turkeys, or maybe we won't do all turkey. Maybe we'll get a ham turkey because everybody's not gonna eat turkey. Then we have a few sides. I think that would be enough for 20 people. We got a plus or minus 5 because, you know, if you got some adults, older boys or girls, young adults, they might bring their friends over and eat. That's planning. Oh, we have migrants coming in, busing 25 busloads a day. You knew that coming into the office. Day one, you should have had a plan. Day one, emergency city council meeting. Hey, these migrants ain't gonna go nowhere. We're a safe haven. You believe they're a safe haven. Before it got out of hand, they should have built. We need to find a migrant tent. We need to find where we're gonna house these because it's not gonna close down. We can't wait. They're gonna continue to ship us. And if you're saying the meanness of what's this Greg Abbott, he's being mean and right-wing extremists, they're just trying to undermine black mayors. You knew if he was after you, per se, quote unquote, you should have planned. You should have been already pulling the trigger of finding a place to lay down his tent. Because this tent thing ain't new. They've done it in other cities. And before they came in, migrants that are busing them to these 5-star hotels. No, okay, you here. This is where you gonna live at. This is what we have for you. In a tent, you probably could erect that in probably like 10, 15 days if you get enough manpower. That's planning. Not you're in December. It's almost the new year 2024. You got in mayorship in May and you're still trying to fumble around where you're going to put migrants at. That doesn't make any sense. So you're not planning, you're reacting. You guys put it in chat. Let me know if I'm going in the wrong direction here.
With everything in me, of addressing this international crisis that, quite frankly, the last I checked, the entire world hasn't had an answer for this. And we place this incredible responsibility on the city of Chicago. So you have international policy, sanctions, and someone who is fighting for their park district, and everything else in between. Now the goal was ultimately to decompress our police districts. I did that. We have one more left.
I have a follow-up question for planning ahead. The lease for 38th in California and the contract with Garter World are ongoing. Are there any plans to delete the lease, get out of it, or end the contract with Garter World that's costing the city millions of dollars?
Well, my team is in conversation with the private owner, and as soon as we have updated information around that conversation, we'll make that available to you. But as far as a contract with Garda World, we don't have do we have a contract? Yeah. So the state has the contract with Garda World. Okay.
Hi, Mayor.
Hey.
Okay, so the news of the day sounds like the city is, they're no longer migrants at police stations as of
Well,
the end of the day?
there's still one more district. We're working hard.
When will they be done, do you think? Like, can I say tomorrow? As of tomorrow, it's going to be.
Yeah. The last district is 12th district.
Okay.
Look, it was.
And what about
people,
the airport?
Let me just say, the people of Chicago, the workers of Chicago, let me just tip my hat, to our OEMC, our full team.
He doesn't know. Well, why are we even wasting our time listening to him? He doesn't know when they're gonna be done, when they're gonna be or have another place to put them, because like they're continuing to get buses on a daily basis. So as soon as you fill up, I guess some churches decided to, and some shelters decided to take these migrants in, and they're doing some work in so they could fit more people into those shelters. And then you're still fumbling around where you're going to put more migrants. I really am trying to visualize, okay, the migrants that what's the next step? To get them into a place where they're working in permanent housing. And who's footing the bill for that? I guess we are. If you live in the city of Chicago or in the state of Illinois, you're footing the bill for that. Because the federal government hasn't gave them any more money. So what is he saying? Why are we even having this conversation right now? You don't know. You just don't know. You going off half-cocked willy-nilly. You haven't planned for anything. So stop acting like Chicago is such a great city and we're taking on this astronomical task where you're only getting 1/10 of the migrants. Texas is getting the majority of them. Even in I don't know if you guys heard at the beginning, they said in New York, 90% of their migrants is from Africa. So they're not even coming in through Greg Abbott anymore. They coming in on the other side. Through Canada, probably. So what are we saying here? So he's trying to act like he's just doing so good and he's doing a horrible job. Horrible job. And that's Brandon Johnson for you. Brandon Johnson. Greg, people die in the hospital every year, but the doctors have their own liability insurance. Taxpayers should not always be on the hook for the mistakes of the police officers, but they need coverage. Yeah, I guess, but it all depends because, there's physician groups. Only reason why I know this because I worked in the medical profession before. There's physician groups. Now, you usually have your own coverage. You have your own liability. And maybe that's what they should do. But if you are part of a physician group or said hospital, they have their own medical coverage. Because you could go in and I get my surgery done at Henry Ford. If I get injured, I'll sue. I'll name the doctor in the lawsuit and where they perform the hospital or where they perform the surgery at, if it's in the hospital. And usually they have a coverage on the hospital, especially if that doctor is under that group. So there's two insurance. So maybe that's what they need to do. That's a good point, Greg. Maybe that's what they need to do with police officers. They should have their own separate liability insurance and under the umbrella of the police union, they should have a insurance. And maybe they should be required for a certain, I guess, a minimum insurance for personal. But if you really think about it, it makes sense what you're saying, you know. Anyway, Dwayne Manziel, there are mostly good cops, but there are cover for bad cops. Police union sucks. Yeah. I think any union, if you put union in it, you got some bad actors in the union. Union covers up a lot of stuff. A lot of people that should be fired that's covered by the union, you know, they end up staying on a job because of the union. They save a lot of people jobs that probably shouldn't be saved. Queenie says, stop the race car. Come on, black people. Yeah, that's different for sure. Nobody want the police Chicago. Why? You know what? I think the narrative is police are bad, and because we've seen, you know, just like the George Floyd thing, you know, seeing what's this guy name? The guy who was sitting on his neck like an idiot. That watching that, it really pulls at you. Even though after, you know, if you read the autopsy report, George Floyd, you know, he died of a like cardiac arrest, but he was on fentanyl. So it was probably a combination of things. Did the guy attend I can't even think of the guy's name who was convicted of murder. Did he attend to kill George Floyd intentionally? I don't think so. I think he was just being an asshole. Look at this big black man, because George Floyd is a big guy or was a big guy. I'm just going to just sit on his neck just because I can. And nobody stopped him. That's what's so crazy about it. Nobody stopped him. And he was continuing. He was crying and, you know, saying, oh, you know, you hurt me. I can't breathe, or whatever he was saying. So that, you know, that guy is a bad actor, you know, and now he's in jail. And I read he got stabbed. Somebody stabbed him. But he didn't get stabbed by a black guy. He got stabbed by somebody else. Some white, they said white supremacist guy. Who would have thunk? You know, what does that tell us? I mean, what is this? Antifa? Like, who's this? Who was stabbed? The guy who killed George Floyd. Or supposedly. We could put quotations, supposedly. Anyway, the FBI been too busy trying to hang Trump. Exactly. I didn't know that, Abdul. Abdul said CPD got a high suicide rate compared to the national average. I didn't know that. Not like Chicago, baby. We ain't stuff like that. I'm gonna stop trying to cuss, you guys. Mr. E, you was beat up for not giving your social security number. Who asked for your social security number? What's your social security number, nigga? Like, what? What's my social security number? I ain't never heard that. Where you from, Mr. E? Put it in the chat. Well, I guess I'm out him in the back when he tried to arrest me too. My bad. But I'm not giving up to any guy. Oh my goodness. Dwayne says, 1976. I don't think it's the gun. I think it's the badge. It is the badge. I mean, everybody, I carry a concealed weapon. I don't go around trying to look for a fight. What you say about me? You know, I ain't pulling out my gun. I try to avoid situations to get me up to that level. You know, when you a responsible gun owner, you're not just trying to look for situations to get into. That's not what you're trying to, especially if you got something to lose. You're not trying to pull out your gun. But I totally believe it's the badge. Mr. E said he tried to choke me to death 4 days prior to George death. You talking about the guy who killed George Floyd? But what the arguing about is about nothing. As long as police work for the city of Chicago, Chicago will be held liable anything they do. That's what I said. That's that overarching thing. They, like you said, they probably should have their own insurance, and then the second layer of insurance is the city of Chicago, because they work for the city of Chicago. Okay, so let's get to your boy crying. This is your boy crying. He decided, oh, I don't want to show up. I think you've been attacking me for all my holes that I've been doing and videotaping and all this crack I've been smoking. And you being mean to me. You've been ridiculing my kids and my wife. No, you did it on your own. You ridiculed your wife when you decided to sleep with your dead brother's wife. And then you decided to go on this crack binge and have a illegitimate baby on a former stripper, I think. But you decided to have a baby. And then you tried to deny her after the DNA test came about. Like, come on now. But look at him trying to look all, I'm relatable. No, you're not. Like he's a human being. You're not a human being. You're a POS.
For 6 years, MAGA Republicans, including members of the House committees who are in a closed-door session right now, have impugned my character, invaded my privacy, attacked my wife, my children, my family, and my friends.
He said, impugn my character. No, Negro. I was almost called him the N-word. No, you impugn your character yourself. You literally brought cocaine in the White House. Like, who else brought cocaine in the White House? Who did it? Who brought cocaine to the White House? We never found out who brought the cocaine to the White House. Like you're an upstanding gentleman.
They have ridiculed my struggle with addiction. They have belittled my recovery. And they have tried to dehumanize me, all to embarrass and damage my father, who has devoted his entire public life to service. For 6 years, I have been the target of the unrelenting Trump attack machine, shouting, "Where's Hunter?" Well, here's my answer. I am here. Let me state as clearly as I can. My father was not financially involved in my business, not as a practicing lawyer, not as a board member of Burisma, not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman, not in my investments at home nor abroad, and certainly not as an artist. During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life. They helped me in ways that I will never be able to repay. And of course, they would never expect me to. And in the depths of my addiction, I was extremely irresponsible with my finances. But to suggest that is grounds for an impeachment inquiry is beyond the absurd.
That's not the grounds of the impeachment. So that's why I think you're still on some type of drugs. Just because you spent all your money on hoes and crack, that's not why they trying to impeach Joe Biden, your daddy. Come on now.
Is shameless. There's no evidence to support the allegations that my father was financially involved in my business because it did not happen. James Comer, Jim Jordan, Jason Smith, and their colleagues have distorted the facts by cherry-picking lines from a bank statement, manipulating texts I sent, editing the testimony of my friends and former business partners, and misstating personal information that was stolen from me. There is no fairness or decency in what these Republicans are doing. They have lied over and over about every aspect of my personal and professional life. So much so that their lies have become the false facts believed by too many people.
Pictures don't lie. You're saying cherry pick line items out of a bank statement. Okay, well, one line item equals one transaction. What do you mean? You never seen a bank statement before, Hunter Biden? That's called accounting. Forensic accounting. You got one line item. Oh, what's this line item? This is going to, this shell company, and this shell company is paying Joe Biden's brother. They take some money out of the money. Oh, and then she took cash out, and then they deposited another check, and then they wrote another check to Joe Biden saying a loan payment. And just because it's a loan payment, remember we covered this story. It said loan payment on the check. So that makes it a loan payment. It's like, come on now. It literally said loan payment. So we should say, oh, it was just a loan payment because they wrote it in. That's a loan payment. I can't with these people.
No matter how many times it is debunked, they continue to insist that my father's support of Ukraine against Russia is the result of a non-existent bribe. They explain
Non-existing? Like, really? I mean, the stars align. Burisma, $1 million a year to sit on the board, and you have no knowledge of energy. You sat on the board with no knowledge of the board that you're sitting on, and you was paid $1 million a year. Did you even attend any meetings? We don't know. But we know one meeting that was attended. Every time you get on the phone, you saying, hey, let my dad say hi to you. And Joe Biden gets on the phone and say, or you call him your business partner or your mentor. They was using code names, by the way. They didn't say, let you want to talk to my dad, or let my dad say hello. No, he was using code names. So, and then Joe Biden gets on the phone and said, where my money at? And then a day later, the money is there. I mean, okay, cherry pick from text messages, cherry pick from phone calls. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how you end up making this tangle web that you weave, and that's how they connected the dots. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. Anyway.
naked photos of me during an oversight hearing. And they have taken the light of my dad's love, for me, and presented it as darkness. They have no shame.
I would say the light of my dad's love for me, but you're a 50-something-year-old man. Okay, you're dead. I mean, if you're a father, you probably will always love your children. I'm not doubting that. You will always love your children. You will always be there for your children. He battled with addiction, so of course he's gonna be there. But we're talking about millions of dollars, several different shell corporations that you guys created, and you tried to be smart about, shuffling the money around, but you wasn't that smart. You wasn't that smart on your cover up. So what are we saying here? I guess we supposed to just ignore it because he's your dad. You're saying it was love, just like that loan payment check, because it says loan payment on the check. Oh, since it was $200,000 and it says loan payment, we got to believe it, right? We got to believe the loan payment check. Like, really. Anyway, so all this stuff, he didn't appear. And I guess they said they're going to do a contempt. I think that's what they said. Contempt to, it's not a contempt to court, but a contempt to, I guess, the committee. And he didn't show up. He just stood outside and gave a press conference. It doesn't matter. They decided, they voted on doing an impeachment inquiry for Joe Biden. They're doing it. So the whole shenanigans that he was trying to pull, Adam Schiff, he voted no on impeachment inquiry. He voted no. Let me just see if I can find. Oh, and Paul Rand was around. He was seen with Speaker Mike Johnson after they voted. Paul Rand said he's not going to attend the Republican National Convention if Trump is the nominee. Why do you hate Trump so much? I don't understand that. He stepped down as speaker. Remember, he was the speaker when Trump got nominated, and he stepped down. I guess this is AOC. Anyway, I was just trying to find let me just pull it up on this end before I get off. Yeah, Democrats are mad because they're saying, oh, this is just a frivolous claim, and they're going off on vacation while they started this impeachment inquiry. They're going to enjoy their vacation for the holidays, while the Senate is still doing business, and they still haven't passed this budget, for Ukraine. That's basically what they're saying.
Just voted 221 to 212 to formalize the impeachment inquiry into alleged wrongdoing by President Biden. To be clear, the president has not been impeached. This is a vote to start an investigation into whether he should be. House Republicans are accusing the president of profiting from his family's business dealings while in office. But so far, they have not presented any solid evidence of wrongdoing. At the heart of the inquiry, the president's son, Hunter, who's been in other legal hot water for failing to pay taxes on time and on gun charges. Today, Hunter Biden was supposed to appear at a closed-door deposition related to the impeachment inquiry, but defied a congressional subpoena and instead spoke to reporters on Capitol Hill, where he defended his father, telling reporters, "My father was not financially involved in his business." We want to go to NBC's Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill. Ryan, to repeat, this is a vote to open an inquiry into the possibility of achievement. Did Republicans have to have any evidence to reach this point?
Only in the fact, Lester, that they needed to convince their members to vote yes on a measure like this to move this process forward. It's important to keep in mind that this impeachment inquiry was actually already underway. It was launched by the former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy back in September, but he did so without this formal authorization from his fellow members of the House of Representatives. And that did lead to some level of difficulty for the three House committees that are investigating the current president and his family, and that includes the House Judiciary Committee, the House Ways and Means Committee, and the House Oversight Committee. They have been in the process of subpoenaing documents, compelling witnesses to testify, and collecting information as a part of this investigation. And they've run into some trouble with some of their targets who have suggested that they do not need to comply because the full House had yet to formalize the impeachment inquiry like they did tonight. Now, the chief target among the many witnesses that the House committees are asking to come forward and speak is the president's son, Hunter Biden. And he was scheduled to testify today in a closed-door deposition. Hunter Biden went back and forth with the committee for several weeks, suggesting that he would testify, but only in a public setting. Well, the House Oversight Committee had said that in order for their investigation to work the way they wanted it to, that they first wanted to depose Hunter Biden in a closed-door setting where they could ask him a lengthy amount of questions in a setting that couldn't turn into a circus atmosphere like these public hearings often do. That wasn't good enough for Biden and his legal team, who...
And like I said, I agree. Okay, yeah, we want to hear what they're talking about, but I agree. Close rooms, closed settings, because you can't clown, you can't perform for the cameras. So I kind of agree what Congress was trying to do. This two-tier justice system, you think you're above reproach. You're not. You're not. You were subpoenaed and you decided not to show up. You decided to, oh, I'm here, but I'm not going to go in. I'm just going to talk to the cameras. Like, how dare you? That's a slap in the face. How dare you do that? But you do have some Democrats in, people saying, oh, he's right. Why are they trying to close the hearing up? Why they don't want his hearing to be public? Because Joe Biden, the only thing he's guilty of is loving his son. Well, he's guilty more than that. And why wouldn't you want to find out why? Why is it so important for you to invest in Ukraine? Why is that so important to you? Why is it so important for you to have this open border? Why are you just sitting on your hands and you're trying to force Congress to provide more money, more spending to Ukraine? Does anyone want to know that? Why are you so invested in Ukraine? We keep on saying, oh, if Putin could invade Ukraine, he could come anywhere to invade. No, he can't. No, and he will not. You think Putin is trying to go to war with America? Not by himself, he's not. I doubt sincerely doubt that. So why are we so invested? Why do we want to say, oh, stand with Ukraine? And we have Corinne Jean-Pierre. She gave a press conference saying, oh, they're going off on vacation while Ukraine is suffering. Well, they've been suffering. It doesn't matter how much money you throw at them. They're going to lose the war. They're going to lose. They don't have enough people unless you're going to send some of our troops over there. And that's what they were talking about. They were literally talking about sending some of our troops over there. So back to the impeachment. Why wouldn't you want to know if a person is doing dirty deeds, Republicans or Democrats alike? Why wouldn't you want to know that? Especially he holds the highest office in the land. Why wouldn't you know if he sold America out to Ukraine, China, and all these other countries that he's in bed with? Why wouldn't you want to know that?
In fact, cited the fact that the impeachment inquiry had not been voted on by the entire House and said that they were not going to comply. Hunter Biden came here to Capitol Hill today, did not participate in this closed-door hearing, but instead gave a short statement, did not answer any reporter questions, and specifically denied that his father had any financial connection to his business dealings around the world or his legal practice. Now, the House Republicans have said that they are now willing to take the step of holding the president's son in contempt of Congress because of his unwillingness to comply with the subpoena. They will now have more legal weight to make that claim based on this authorization vote that just took place here tonight. Lester?
All right, Ryan, we'll ask you to stand by. Let me bring in senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. He's at the White House. Gabe, any word from the president or his team reacting to the vote? Clearly, it appeared earlier in the day the numbers were there to carry this.
Lester, good evening. The White House is referring to this as a baseless political stunt and arguing that Republicans should be focused on other priorities, such as passing aid to Ukraine and Israel. They continue to say that these are baseless allegations. Now, earlier today, the White House press secretary, Corinne Jean-Pierre, was asked whether the president had the opportunity to see his son Hunter's remarks outside of the Capitol. She wouldn't get much into that, but she did say that the president was familiar with what his son planned to say. But she would not say much more than that, only reiterating that the president and the first lady were proud of their son for continuing to rebuild his life. Lester.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez at the White House. Thank you. That concludes this NBC News special report. Much more ahead on our streaming network, NBC News Now, online at NBCnews.com. And tonight, I'll see you with more on Nightly News. I'm Lester Holt. Thank you for watching, everyone. Good evening.
So there you have it, you guys. Joe Biden, they voted for an inquiry, the impeachment inquiry, and Joe Biden is he's not going to respond. His White House press secretary responded saying it's frivolous. Okay, so that's what we got to deal with. Of course, they're going to say it's frivolous because that's what she's supposed to say. She's doing her job, okay? And Joe Biden probably don't even know what's going on. You know, he literally probably doesn't know what's going on. Greg, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Thanks for giving your time. This is better than regular TV. I wish I get paid better than regular TV, but this $20 would help. Thank you, you guys. Yeah, Joe Biden, he doesn't know what's going on. He's probably like he's really probably asking questions of what's for dinner tonight. That's what you could expect from Joe Biden because he really doesn't know. He doesn't know his heads from his tails. Okay. So I really appreciate every single one of you. Tomorrow we're gonna get into Chicago again. I got a couple of stories from Chicago. One with Tiffany Henyard. I got another story that I'm bringing together. So tomorrow, that's what tomorrow's live stream is going to be about. And then I have another story that was sent to me about a mayor in Chicago. And let me just pull it up. One of the guys already been convicted. He's a former mayor. Let's see. Is this it? Harvey, Eric Kellogg, I guess Kellogg or Kellogg. It's Harvey mayor. He's the ex or former Harvey mayor. And he's been linked to some corruption. This is a wild story, you guys. Wild story. But his cousin was convicted, I think yesterday. He hasn't been sentenced yet, but he was convicted yesterday. He pled guilty. And they haven't brought any charges to Mayor Eric Kellogg yet. I'm pretty sure they're, working with the lower people before they bring charges on him. So we're gonna discuss that, and then we got something with Tiffany. I've found some crazy information about some of her people, particularly Keith Freeman. Yeah, Keith Freeman. And then I'm going to try to bring this guy on, you guys. Don't hold me to it. But I've been talking to an individual that he's worked for the township before. So I'm going to try to bring him on. If not, I'm going to try to squeeze some information out of him. But matter of fact, he said he's been on a couple of trips, those wild trips they've been going on, that they went to Springfield and Jackson, Mississippi, and all that. So I believe he said he's been on one of the trips. So hopefully he'll be here tomorrow. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Let me see what we were talking about. Greg, you said a YouTuber in Africa is always talking about her. You gotta send me the link. I'll go check out that video. Prima Donna, looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah, so you guys, tell everyone, tell all your friends. We'll be on tomorrow around 8:30. 8:30. I don't have nothing to do tomorrow, so it'll probably be like 8 o'clock. All right, so I am sending all my good to you. I will talk to you soon.